Going live. All right, good evening. Welcome to our chapel services for Friday evening. I'm Reverend Mary Huber, and we will start with our beginning slide.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
Well, greetings and welcome. My name is Reverend Mary Huber. I'm pastor of CCWH, which stands for the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing. We are a non-denominational spiritual fellowship, not-for-profit, founded in 1977 by our founder, Reverend Michelle Luson, a mystic and channel for the multidimensional consciousness, which we carry here in this organization. She had an apparition of Swami Sivananda in which he asked her to start this organization and place it in the Washington, D.C. area so that we would be a light for the nation's capital. We are here to aid in personal and global spiritual transformation. We have chapel services twice a month on a schedule that you can find on our website. And we offer spiritual healing. We have other classes, and we have a spiritual healing group on Tuesday and a intuitive development class on Saturday mornings, all on Zoom. We are not meeting in person yet. You can also add names to our prayer list if you would like to, and then you can find that on our website as well. So if you aren't on mute, please do now. And we will begin with our affirmations of faith, hope, and charity, which are known to us as the three healers because they have a profound influence on all of our body, mind, and spirit. And you can say them while you're on mute with me if you care to. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. Hope affirmation, acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity. I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within. And charity affirmation, in understanding faith, in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. Well, this evening, Our topic is wellness, balancing higher and lower aspects of our facets of ourself. You know, most of us start off in life in some sort of religious affiliation or training. I know that I was in parochial school, and in first grade, I learned immediately. The question was, why did God make me? And the answer in the catechism was to know God, to love God, and to serve him in this world, and to be happy with him forever in the next. Now, religion can help us become better people, better persons, and have a way that we can establish a relationship to God, or at least know that God exists. Very important. Now, through this experience, you, in traditional terms, you find out there are other realities, not just this physical reality. You find that there is a heaven and hell. So you think, okay, there are things that I can't see. They are real places, and the religion has acknowledged them. And for a long time, you stay with that understanding. But when you want to grow beyond where you are, sometimes people begin questioning. I know I did, and want to know more than the basics and the things that we were taught as children that we still hold on to. So go into adulthood, we find that there are actually other dimensions or realities. We find, as we have said in the beginning that of this introduction to this program tonight, that we are multidimensional beings. And we're going to talk about that this evening, being multidimensional. So this is an important understanding. But it's until we hear about it, and like everything else that we're taught, it's just an intellectual concept. Until we learn more, until we investigate more, until we want to know more. Now, it must be very clear, anybody who listens to any of our programs, that we know that human being is composed of two natures, the spiritual and the physical. We are higher creative consciousness inhabiting or housed in a physical form, a body. That means we have dual natures, and each one of those natures has their own rules and regulations that guide them for their own balance within themselves. And we need to learn how to take those two and balance the two of those together in order to be healthy, happy, and aligned with our purpose for being here on earth. And there is a purpose for each person being here. I mean, this isn't something that just comes out of metaphysics. Mark Twain said so many years ago, 100 years ago, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you found out why. That's our journey. That's our evolution of ourselves. We want to know these things. We want to go beyond where we were and to have a relationship with ourselves in life that is much more rich and understandable at a very different level than just intellectual. And my own journey began with my query about, is there really life after death? And that only was stimulated in me because as a nurse, I was taking care of dying children. They all had leukemia at the time. That was many years ago, before they had cures. And I just needed to know that there was. I didn't care what my religion said. I needed to know somehow else. How do you find these things? There must be some other way to find them than somebody telling me. So I did a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation, and a lot of reading. And most of my reading were these little books that were out at the time, fortunately, about the other side, There were a lot of things about ghosts and spirits and other side kind of books. And I did read more advanced philosophies like Alice Bailey and people like that. And I also found Edgar Cayce. So it was a wonderful beginning that I had. And I stayed with those readings and the meditations for 2 years before I had my own extraordinary experiences that were really out of body. I was taken there spontaneously one night in meditation, or one afternoon actually in meditation. I had been doing exercises with doing meditation that were to bring me up to God. I always felt I had to reach higher levels. Now I call them dimensions, but I had to go up. I know there were people who were teaching, oh, you go down elevators and you go down. And I could just not bring myself to go down anywhere. I know my direction was up. Now, of course, through my nurse's training, I had learned about levels of mind, and they were the id, the ego, the superego. But they were that kind of concept. It was just an intellectual, nice thing to know, but it was never really practical for me. I couldn't do anything with it. But when I began to do these investigations, I did know that there is a dimension of myself, a subconscious, that is not visible to this outer concrete lower mind of mine. And I know that when I went within, I began to experience something other than the physical world. My out-of-body experiences were so dramatic, I couldn't deny it. It was just, I was taken out. And I knew that I couldn't do this. I could not generate that on my own. It was a given to me experience. And I was very grateful for it. And it made me even more eager to explore more. Now, we know from science that I was taught that everything is in motion. Everything is in a state of vibration. Atoms, molecules, everything vibrates. You're always taught that, the most solid thing that you're looking at, the chair you're sitting on, the table you're sitting at, they're all had a certain level of vibration that's actually in motion all the time. And that motion is called frequencies. They're operating on their own frequencies. So what you're going to hear tonight is just my own simplified version of what all of this is, because you can talk about, I've heard very learned, I have read many intellectually appraisals of these kind of things, books on this subject. But I think what's so important is that when you do these things, that you come up with your own understanding. You take it, embrace it, and bring it in and say, now, how do I understand this myself so that I can work with it? I can't work with somebody's just intellectual telling me something exists or something is so. I have to really get into it myself. Now, this is my simple explanation. I see it as everything operates, as we said, within a frequency range, and I see it within a band of energy. We exist on the physical plane because there's a band of frequency that's vibrating at a certain rate, and we can see each other. We can see physical reality. It's all here because of that frequency vibration that everything is involved in. But when you have a different experience, you know that there are other vibrations that are happening. When I went out of body, I went somewhere, and I was thinking, I know my body is on the bed. I know I went somewhere, but where is here? And we never could figure really where here was when I was there. But it was certainly not on Earth. So there are other vibratory bands that we have, and there are bands that exist on other planes. They are as real as this one. And when you reach them, believe me, I checked it out when I was there. It was absolutely solid. But was on a frequency band. Now, I know that we have bands of energy, frequencies that are ever increasingly higher. And from my understanding of the universe and the, I guess, the eternal nature of everything. I'm sorry, there's somebody on, is not on mute. From what we are looking at, there are these sequential bands that are there, and that we are here on the third dimension, and we're aspiring to go right now into the fifth. That means we are rising right now through the fourth, and most people, we're still here. We haven't disappeared. Everything is still in place, but we have a different consciousness that goes into those. The consciousness of each frequency is the one that we aspire to go to because it's elevated from the one below it. The frequency above is superior to the one below. So when you can reach a higher frequency, you can make things happen there, dictate what's going to happen at the one below it. So as we are ascending into this next, hopefully soon into the fifth dimension, as we are approaching it, it's an exciting time to be alive, but it's also a confusing time to be alive because of all these changes that have to be in place in order to achieve that. So when we exit this world, we go to these, from being, when we drop, what a lot of literature calls drop the body, when we leave the body, we go into the spiritual dimension and we go to the level to which we belong or to which we have attained. That level of consciousness, that is where we go to in spirit. Not everybody goes to the same level. You have to have achieved or earned the level that you go to in our spiritual nature. Now, of course, our I am presence within us originated in an extremely high frequency, and it's the one we're aspiring to. We're aspiring to go ever increasingly higher in frequency to find the God who sent us, to find God and be one with that God. So, but we have to work at these things. If you're going to go up in dimensions, if you're going to go up in consciousness and understanding of what that consciousness is, we all have work to do on that, and we've been doing it. We develop new understandings. We develop these through, excuse me, new disciplines. So the things that we bring into our life that help us get there are these different disciplines that we go to, the yogas, the meditations, the prayers, etc., and other kind of activities that bring us up. And our relationship to God within us is our most important relationship. Now, we all have to make this journey on our own effort. No one can do the work for another person, no matter how much in your heart you want to go over and bring that person out of where they are. You can only help to the point where they allow the help, but you can't actually make them do anything. They have to do this on their own. But it is our privilege to serve when we can, to bring that awareness to another person. Now, when we are in life, and I understand that from a psychic, when somebody sees energies, there's a flow. There are many flows of energy. Let's put it, I know that. But the greater flow of energy is in a figure 8 around our body. And this shows if our thinking and our feeling are in alignment. If our head and our heart are lined up correctly. And the heart is the great synthesizer. And everything above meets everything below at the heart. The spirit and the physical meet there. All above meet all below in the heart. So the proper alignment should go like this. When we have a thought in our mind, the mind should send it to the heart and say, evaluate this. The heart does the job of discerning and talks about the rightness or wrongness of this thought. Is this good or not good? Is this a good concept? And it sends that report back to the mind. And the mind then takes that into account, and only then does action take place. This is the right use of mind and heart when it's in that flow. Both have to be involved, because without that, you have somebody who's only intellectual, has no feeling, or you have somebody who's all emotional and hasn't a clue what they're being emotional about. They have no thought about anything. They haven't investigated. They don't have the facts. So when decisions are made with this in mind, this comes out to be the balance and harmony and the peaceful and constructive actions that people can take. The world out there and everything that we know in the world today needs this so much, the balance of the higher and lower. But again, always being from the heart. Now, there's more, I guess, than just the conscious mind being involved here. There are other levels of mind as well, without an individual being aware of it. And these are influences behind the scenes that guide the decision process as well. There's also the emotional component. And we all know that very well, because not only, I guess it's my input, but I have heard a number of channeling saying from Spirit is saying it would be better if people were less emotional on this planet. And the reason for that is the emotions are a reactive state. They react to a mindset, whether it's known to the individual what that mindset is or not. It can be mindset that they've been holding that they think is perfectly fine, and they don't question it. It could be an error. It doesn't mean that everything emotional reaction is going to come out okay, because if it's based on a mindset that isn't right, it's not going to be a good emotional component. Emotions tell us an awful lot about ourselves. Much more than people like to believe that they're emoting because they're going to share something and it's going to change the world, it's going to do something, but really it's telling more about the individual than any individual could really know. It tells an awful lot about people, because they can tell, where is your state of mind? And these kind of imbalances do impact the physical. Remember, everything above affects everything below. And I've had this image of the body being the playground upon which the mind and the emotions and all of everything work on this, and it drives the machinery in the body to a good point or a bad point where it becomes upset and it can't keep up. The body itself has a consciousness. The physical forms, like the physical in the world, the tree has a consciousness, the animals have a consciousness, the plants have a consciousness. The physical form itself has a consciousness. And I've been told a long time ago that if humans didn't have detrimental input here into the physical form could fix itself quite nicely. It knows what to do. But because we have these charged emotions and things that go on in the body that drive things in the energies within the body in a different directions and withhold energies from other directions, it doesn't do well that the body can figure out how to make all of this right all the time. And so it isn't able to. So it's important that we understand that because we are higher creative consciousness, we do have command of the earth. We do have command of this body. And it's up to us to come to an agreement within ourselves, or to the understanding within ourselves, how we can bring balance into all of this. So lack of this understanding is creating a lot of problems in the world. And there are many factors that go into things. Once you understand dimensions and the higher and lower aspects of self that are so implicated, you realize it's really much more complex. You can't blame one thing on being ill. It's multiple. There are many factors that go into making something the way it is. And it's not just in the negative side, but even in the positive side. Why is somebody so healthy? Well, there are many factors that went into that, and it's all because they listened to their inner source of their own being. They understood both the physical and the spiritual needs within them, and they came to understanding that balance. And they turn out to be much happier people to begin with and have a better view of life. And that drives an awful lot of health when you can get to that place. So we can direct things better within ourselves. But we are our own world. We operate our own world, and this is the world that we are meant to operate in. Our I am presence that exists within our own system is at the pinnacle of this, and it's the perfection of ourselves. It's the God center within us that sees no error in anything. We are at the other end of that, being in the physical form. The part in between is the Christ consciousness, and that is the Christ consciousness, I understand, is the consciousness within us that sees above and sees perfection and what it should be, but can look down and look at the physical and what's going on and seeing the error that we're making. So there is the Christ consciousness that keeps pulling us into that realm. That's where our next journey is, to find that Christ, to find how we can actually be part of that Christ consciousness that is within ourselves, without a doubt. You are in your own world. You are the writer, the director, the producer, and all of the actors in your own life. Now, we have other people who interface with us who are doing the same thing, but we are always responsible for our own reactions. And that's a very important part of learning the basics of the rules that God has given us for this life. We are responsible for our reactions. So it's important that we do this balancing within us. And choice is our method by which we are being given this free will, this choice in this world. We choose how to think about something or someone. We choose how to behave and respond in the world. There's never a time that we cannot make that free choice. So our will is involved. This is where the will is, in the center, in the thyroid. And when that's compromised, we can lose much of the healing thrust, which could be ours on any level, whether it's mind or body. But if we would simply believe, calm down, simply believe that God can create a perfect outcome, and understand that that is where our higher mind can come in and be part of our life and have that assurance. You know, we have these 3 affirmations, the faith, hope, and charity affirmations. And if you really take a look at those and what they're saying, they have everything in those affirmations that directs you on how to conduct yourself in life. Now, seeing the perfected outcome, some people call this wishful thinking or being out of touch with reality. However, they do not understand the power of belief or the law of the universe. What we attract, what we put out to others or to ourselves. We attract back to ourselves how we're thinking and how we're conducting ourselves. We get more of that back. As we go out and put that out, it comes back to us. So our first, I guess, direction from Spirit would be to choose love. And in your choosing love, the first place you go with love is to God within you. That's the first. The second place you go to exhibit love is to yourself, because you are the child of that God within you. And only when you understand and get hold of that concept and work with that, can you really love another and give love to others, because it really has to be there in yourself. This is the full cup that you need to give from. So how do we do this? We learn to appreciate life. We learn to forgive ourselves and forgive others appropriately. We learn to be thankful. We learn to make an effort to improve our viewpoints and things. We pray and pray often as you can. And meditation, go within to have the contact with the God self within. God does also, of course, live outside of ourselves, but who we are is where we need to be, is to find the God within us. This is the God who created us. This is the God to whom we are seeking to join, not somebody else's God. This God within, the I am presence, sent you and me and all the people on this planet within their own structures to go back and find God again. Yes, but it's within. So our God wants us to have a conscious cooperation and participation with him in our daily life, and him meaning the Father, Mother God. And we have to go within. So when God-centered person is exhibiting themselves in life, they have a certain level of vibratory capabilities that others do not have, that frequency that we're talking about. And it comes in through doing the prayers and meditations and reevaluating how we are looking at life. Now, our guided meditations are wonderful and they're fine, but while you're busy doing something, you are not meditating. You need to know that. And I'd like everybody to be aware of that. It's only when that's our process of getting there. It's a beautiful thing. And we need some help getting in within ourselves and quiet ourselves and being in a peaceful place. But then you need to be quiet, because only in that receptive place of quiet, a very active attunement where you're sitting in, I said, patiently waiting on God, can God make contact? And everybody gets whatever they get from their inner meditations when they are in that place. It's an individual experience. But doing this inner work gives us the ability to develop our intuitive capacity and our capabilities. And intuition is our edge in life. So doing all of this makes you not only a better attuned person in the world, because it does give you the insight that you need quickly. It also gives you the capability of being a greater help to others because of this ability. It's certainly something that everybody has a gift of intuition. It's just that you have to develop it. So everyone, I would encourage to bring in the highest quality of spirit that you can possibly take within yourself. It's important to work at that level and to consistently put yourself there so that you can attain that. The inner world is also the place where you find truth. Many years ago, when I was beginning, we started off talking about my beginnings in this, I had heard a lot in the different writings about truth, this and truth, that. And I'm thinking, but nobody's telling me what truth is. So I began to get a little concerned and say, what is truth anyway? And when I walked into the chiropractor's office that I had been directed to go to, I'm perusing her books and I'm looking and it said, I found the book and it said, Studies in Truth. I thought, boy, there's a book on studies in truth. There is an answer. Anyway, the book was by Roy Eugene Davis. He was the devotee of Swami Coming Paraslama, I think, who came in from India. He was one of the earlier ones. And he became developed his own ashram, and it's in Georgia. And he put out a number of books, and this is one. And it has about to do with the universal laws. And everything you put out comes back. It's the law of return, the law that brings us into the understanding that of what these ancient rules and laws of the universe are. And I thought, oh, well, that's truth. And that started me really into a new place in my life. So we know that when we put things out in the world, it comes back to us tenfold. This has always been true. And it's important then that we understand that if we're putting something out there, it's going to come back at us bigger than when we put it out. I think it would be well for people to remember that, because love begets love and hate begins hate. You can't bring back something different than what you put out. So in today's world, more people need to realize that so that they can bring back something better to themselves, and in the meantime, help other people through a better relationship to the world, to themselves, to the higher forces that guide them. So our everyday thoughts even are being picked up by others. And sometimes it's really hard to remember that. And animal studies have proven this. And a number of the studies have done directed information or certain kinds of attitudes that are sent out to animals and monitoring them for their responses. They pick it up as surely as we pick it up from a verbal interaction with each other. And it's been well documented. Back in the early 70s, there was a lady from San Francisco who came to a huge, I guess we'll call it natural health. I don't remember what it was called. It was on the mall in DC. And for some reason, I don't know how I got to be a monitor in one of the tents. I happened to be in her tent. Her name was Effie Chow. And she came in to demonstrate the power of thoughts and how we affect each other. And it was they were very powerful demonstrations. And she did it through muscle testing. She would tell the audience, she would bring somebody up from the audience, and usually some smart aleck. She would pick those people in particular from the audience who was a little bit heckling her or laughing. So that she would bring them up and she'd say, "Now, I'm going to see how strong you are." And these would generally be the young men. And then she would be she's a little tiny lady. She would put her hands up on their arm and say, "Okay, keep your arms straight and strong." And she would literally hang on them. She could pull her feet up off the floor. Some of the young men were so very strong. And she said, "Now I'm going to I'm going to send you some thoughts." And she said, she would tell us ahead of time, with one finger, it was positive, and with two fingers, it was negative. And she'd keep it behind the individual. So they would be standing there facing the audience, and she would be a little bit behind them, and she'd put a finger up. And when she sent a negative thought to that person, that same young man could not hold his arm up. And it was just blew everybody away. And she could repeat that over and over again. When she put a positive thought, the people she tested were very strong, and the opposite was true with the negative thought. So it was an amazing demonstration and very early on, that showed that we do interact with each other on other dimensions, other levels. And our thinking is very important, and how we think about other people. So, and more importantly, how do we think about ourselves? So it's an exciting, I guess, journey to be in the physical. But when we access our higher mind, the higher creative mind of God, our God nature, we can access all other minds. We are one with all others at these higher levels. Our higher creative consciousness is one with all others. And here, when we access that level, we can ask there to be healed. We can ask for others through their higher self, through their higher creative consciousness, to be at peace. It's a very powerful place to go. We need to go there ourselves, so to participate in that. Our oneness in spirit is, as humanity, is difficult for most humans to realize, because we all seem so separate, so different, so individual. But if we were really to understand, we would bring that understanding of the oneness of us all at that level of mind. There are so many dimensions that we are one. And this one fact, if people could really grab it, would bring humanity together and finally understand that everyone shares in the common experience with God. Then we can all look above to the higher world and emulate the world that is in harmony there. This is what as above, so below, that is the motto. It's for the future world. If we want to have it, that world above us that is in harmony and perfection, to be here in this reality. I know that Christ has come again by the efforts of the Divine Mother, the Divine Feminine. Consciousness of God has stimulated the birth of higher realms of light in a vast majority of humanity at this point. Beams of transcendent light are now flowing from the heart of mankind and are showing the way and the truth. Higher dimensional light beings are now able to be here on Earth in ways not possible prior to this time, because we've done that work. And as Christ consciousness arises in each, the ugliness of the dark side will try to put out that effort, but it is failing. The great master of all masters is winning, and the opponent knows the end of that reign of darkness is no longer possible on Earth. But just like when dynamite explodes an old building, and in falling to the ground, it throws up so much dust and debris. This is what we're seeing now in the world picture. In this decade, I believe we will see the clearing of that screen of debris and dust, and show a sparkling new consciousness, really solid and emerging and replacing that old. It's important that we try to stay focused every day in our new light awareness and stay strong and steady for Christ. Bring in the highest quality of spirit that you can possibly take. Develop yourself in your inner world. Your intuition coming from those dimensions is the ability to tap into the mind of God. Here, people will develop their sensitivity. And you go within and you are waiting for your own personal divinity to reveal its presence to you. This is so exciting. The experience is the most valuable and practical gift in your everyday life. Intuition forms you of many things, activities, and intentions that are hidden from you. And in knowing them, you can have a response that would be productive and useful to yourself and all around you. When you become comfortable in your inner world, you develop a trust in your instincts because you know that your divine presence is at work through you. Now, you know that most inventive and creative and successful people in all walks of life have this connection. It's not an extraordinary gift for the few, but the inborn ability of all human beings. One just has to work at bringing it out, like an athlete or a musician has to practice for better performance. Your inner world also is the direct connection to revealing truth to you. Your inner Christ consciousness is the connection to all universal order and discernment. As we continually seek Christ, the rattling of lesser thoughts and negative impulses will have to fade away, because the Christ consciousness can only allow love, honor, respect, and truth to be present. The consciousness of Christ and the power of love are the most powerful forces in our universe. So bless who you are and where you are, knowing that in God, all things are possible. Thank you very much. And now we'll go to Kelly's meditation.
We begin by taking deep breaths in and out. In and out. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. As we draw our attention to our bodies, sitting firmly on the ground. We draw our attention to the solidity we feel under our feet. We feel ourselves really settle down into our bodies and further down into the ground. As though we're sinking a bit deeper and deeper down into the floor, down into the ground beneath. Until we're like a tree or plant, or perhaps some burrowing animal or rock, settled in the ground, where we have a firm, solid place. Here we know we can rest, we can rejuvenate. We feel ourselves sending outside of ourselves, outside of our bodies, outside of our fields, any energy that is no longer helpful to us. It flows out of us, it flows out of our feet, it seeps out of our pores, it sinks down to the ground. We let it go. We continue to push out any energies that are no longer useful, making sure they are cleared from us, from our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies. We may see these negative energies or these lower energies or these heavier energies, these not useful energies around us, and they dissipate into the ground, being drawn off by Mother Earth to be utilized by other creatures. Once we feel this clearing is complete, we know we can take in any sort of energies that we require from the earth, here in our little burrow, here in our solid spot in the ground. We feel the positive earth energies being drawn to us, almost as though we are a magnet. They are drawn to us. We welcome them in and give thanks to the earth. Now we become aware of the energies shining down on us from the heavens, from the upper realms, from the spirit realms, and we reach up to connect to these energies. We feel our solid connection with spirit. It may feel as though it's coming through your head, perhaps the top of your head, perhaps the very middle of your head, or perhaps it feels like it's coming through your third eye or directly into your heart. But you know you are connecting with the light of spirit, of God, of all that is. You feel this beautiful light as it surrounds you, as it envelops you and holds you fast. We let the light continue to envelop us. Surrounding us on every side. Once we feel our circle of light is built, we give thanks to Spirit. We give thanks to the earth. And we know now we can safely travel to our inner temple, our place of meditation and healing and light. We go there now. It can be any place we imagine. We spend a few moments settling into our inner landscape, our inner temple. Readying ourselves for our meditative journey. Today we will travel to the heavens and connect with the planetary energies in space. We take further deep breaths. And again we imagine ourselves reaching upwards. First, we begin by reaching upwards to the sky. The sky above us may be clear and blue, it may be cloudy and gray, it may be anything in between. But we reach up to the sky, and we keep going. We keep traveling upwards, and we begin to see an array of lights. And we keep traveling. It may feel as though you're rising upwards. You may feel some fluttering behind your eyelids as you see these lights flash by. We keep traveling through these lights until we reach a vast space. A vast space that is inky and black. It is dark and cool and quiet, and we spend a moment here being aware that we have space. We are surrounded by a vast amount of space, and we have the opportunity to bring in vast energies. After spending a moment here, we begin our travels to bring in some specific planetary energies. First, we focus on the energies of the planet Mercury. These planetary energies are associated with travel, with communication, with interconnectedness. We take a moment to align with these energies of movement, these messenger energies. We feel ourselves surrounded by them. Now we can begin drawing these energies in. We may feel drawn to bring them into ourselves, or perhaps we feel ourselves guided to send these mercurial energies elsewhere, to another situation, or person, or place, where they may be of use. We take a moment now to direct energies of communication, of travel, to where we are most drawn to send them. Giving thanks to the energies of Mercury, we now move to a different planet, the planet of Mars. The energies here are very different. Here we have warrior energies, not necessarily warlike, but strong. These energies of the spiritual warrior, of strength, begin to inundate us. Encouraging us to be more assertive, encouraging us to defend others, encouraging us that we are free to go out and get what we need or what we desire. We feel ourselves connecting to these strong warrior energies. We feel them swirling all around us. These energies may make us think of a particular color. They may just give us a certain feeling. We may see symbols or images that we associate with these qualities. But we take a moment to immerse ourselves in these energies. And then we decide whether we would like to take more of these energies into our own being, or whether perhaps we would like to direct them to another person or place or situation where they are required. We direct these Martian energies to where they are most needed now. Once the energetic movement is complete, we give thanks to the energies of Mars. We find ourselves moving swiftly to the planet Venus. We feel ourselves enveloped in these energies of nurturing, of love, these very feminine energies. We take some time to call up any images, any words or symbols, any sounds or scents or pictures that may remind us of this nurturing, loving feminine energy. We call these things to mind now. After we feel we have really connected to these energies of Venus, we then make the decision whether to take some into ourselves, or perhaps to direct them outwards to another person or place or situation where they are most needed now. We take another few moments to really gather this Venusian energy towards us, to take it into us if need be, and perhaps to send it forth as well. Once we feel this energy transfer is complete, we give thanks to Venus. And we continue our planetary journey. This time moving to the great planet that is Jupiter. Drawing near, we find ourselves surrounded by Jupiter's massive energy. These energies are associated with power, with authority. We feel ourselves becoming more and more aware of how these energies feel to us and what they mean to us. We may at this time see images or symbols, colors or sounds that we associate with power, with authority. As we continue to connect with these massive energies. Once we feel strongly connected with the energies of power and authority that are associated with Jupiter, we find ourselves able to direct a small portion of these energies either towards ourselves or to another purpose where these energies will be most useful. We find ourselves directing this energy now to wherever we are guided to do so. We continue for a moment, sending forth this energy, pouring its light and strength towards wherever it will do the most good. Once this energetic transfer seems complete, we give thanks to the energies of Jupiter, and we begin our travels to the last of the planets we will visit on this journey, the energies of Saturn. As we draw closer to the energies of this planet, we feel its strong pull. We feel the pull of the energies associated with Saturn, the taskmaster, the bringer of order. We may begin to feel inundated with images, symbols, feelings that we associate with law and order. And we take a moment to really connect with these energies. As we feel these energies grow, we may feel a swirling around us. Or perhaps more like neat soldier energies marching in. But we feel our ability to direct this energy either to ourselves, to something in our own life, or perhaps to something outside of ourselves. A person, place, or situation that would most benefit from more energies of order, of organization, of completion. We take a moment to send forth these energies as we are guided to do so. Once we feel this directing of energies is complete, we give thanks. We give a special thanks to Saturn. A general thanks to all the planets, those we spoke of today and all the many others. And we feel ourselves one more time taking in the vastness of space before we take a large step back to our own inner temple. We take a moment here to regroup, to quiet ourselves, to feel ourselves pulling our energies back to earth. Now, taking some deep breaths, we feel ourselves coming back even further into our own bodies, our own selves, our own homes, returning slowly but steadily. Once back in our bodies, we feel ourselves fully present. Welcome back, and thank you.
I hope you have found our website at ccwh.com. And while you're there, if you will look for a drop-down menu labeled Get Involved, in there, there's a place where you can make a contribution, which we would be so grateful for. And while you're there, maybe you would consider becoming a member. Our affirmations are found there as well. And you could put your request for prayers for someone in need. And don't forget to like us on Facebook.